Hello and welcome again.
Good afternoon, everybody.
This is Cory.
This is Rob.
And this is episode 2 of the Anthem podcast.
I was just trying to think of what episode 2 was in Star Wars. I know it's Phantom Menace. What's the second one? I can't even remember.
I haven't watched a single Star Wars movie.
Let's call this The New Hope, because we are upgrading. So it's episode 2, The New Hope.
Why don't we just start with the good Star Wars?
Okay, yeah. So
we'll just go with the ones that people actually liked.
So this is the return of the podcast.
Yeah, the return.
Episode 2.
The return of the podcast. How was your week?
Week was good, but forget my week. How was your week?
It was very good. I turned 30 this week.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Last week, we usually try and record these on Saturday.
We do,
and for the first week, we were going to. The plan was to come down Saturday, but you came up with some lame excuse.
Well, that's not a lame excuse. I came up with some woman-related excuse.
Right.
And the history of our life has been you, unfortunately, saying, okay, because some crazy woman was in my life.
Right. So I came down on Friday, and we recorded episode 1 then.
Right.
And then on Saturday, it actually found out that thing you were trying to keep me away from was a surprise party I was completely unaware of that Aaron threw.
Worst reaction to a surprise ever.
I'm going to find a way of getting the video of my surprise on the in the show notes.
The very poor reaction.
Because I'll say this. Aaron told me to be at the house at 6:30, and I was leaving my house in Parkville at 5:45.
Right.
Trying to get there on time. And she had her mom call me and delay me, and I got stuck in the toll plaza for an unconscionable amount of time.
Did you come in with hamburger buns? Is that what you came in with?
That's what Aaron's mom sent me to 7-Eleven to get.
Super.
Hamburger buns and Bayer aspirin.
Okay.
And that was what was supposed to delay me. Can you pick that up on the way?
Yeah.
And I came in, and I was in a terrible mood because I was late.
Right.
Like usual. And Aaron even said, as I walked in the door, "You're late." And then I had that face on already where I'm just like, yeah, I know I'm fucking late. What do you... And as I got around the corner, everyone yelled, "Surprise!" And the reaction to my face is still of someone who's angry about having been late. So it's pretty comical. We'll try and figure out a way to put that in the show notes. I know a video was recorded. So.
It was, yeah. I think Gene has it, actually.
Yeah, so I'm going to see if I can get it from him and put it up on the site.
Yeah.
And furthermore, my friend Motaz, who I met at the New York Film Academy in Los Angeles, sent me a message the other day to wish me a happy birthday. Mm-hmm. And I love this picture. It's like my new favorite picture ever. Motaz is standing in front of the Pyramids of Giza. I believe it's the pyramid.
It is.
Is there any other?
No, that's the only one.
Pyramids of Giza. He has an Orioles hat on, and he's leaning back, and he's like, "Oh," because I taught him that when I took him to the Orioles-Padres game.
Right.
Taught him all the Oriole chants.
Hey.
So the Orioles have a new Egyptian fan, and he's supporting "Oh the Anthem" from all the way over in Egypt.
That's good. They don't stone you for that, do they, in Egypt?
I don't believe so.
Is that one of the things like baseball?
I don't think they've gotten to that part yet.
Okay.
Eventually it will be.
Yeah.
But.
Well, no, so I'm glad you had a good birthday.
Yeah, and I got a new camera. So.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
My father got me a camera for my birthday. So, along with all the other gear that I've gotten, a light meter for my mom and a shoulder mount for my sister.
Right.
I'm ready for a new short film really soon. So that's going to be coming.
I think that's a hashtag... small filmmaker problems there. Everybody's gifts related to the film industry. And except for Brendan's.
Well, his is probably going to be a check of some kind.
Yeah, and we'd like to go ahead and thank you for the soundboard that you bought, Brendan. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I basically used whatever I imagined Brendan was going to give me for a soundboard. So that's I bought an early birthday present for myself in hopes that he was going to send a check. And
so if it's not in the mail, Brendan, please forward that.
Please, I have car repairs. Very expensive Subaru repair coming my way.
So, any adventures around? Did you get did you hear anything back from anybody?
I did. I ran into a lot of my people through the course of the birthday week.
You're like Vince from Entourage. Like, I ran into some of my people around the way.
I didn't have like a 30th birthday on a boat sponsored by Victoria's Secret and
it would have been nice though.
Smirnoff or whatever it was.
I mean, much props to Aaron for throwing the party, but that would have been a good party.
Yeah, except I would have preferred it not be on a boat.
Oh, of course, yes.
Though it was landed. It was like docked.
Yeah.
So it would have been a little bit better off.
I'm not sure you would still get on.
I think I'm okay with anything that I can jump heroically off of.
If it explodes? Like...
No, like, I mean, like, I feel like a ship of that magnitude would be, like, a little bit of a heads up before it, like, sinks to the bottom of the
12 feet of water that
right.
it's sitting in. Right,
yeah.
okay.
So it's got to be more than 12 feet, a boat of that size.
I don't know.
It's got to be at least enough that the boat goes down and could cause trouble for everybody inside of it. If somebody will be like, "Oh my God, the boat's sinking. We only have 20 minutes to get off," and I'm jumping off the third story.
Why, if you have 20 minutes to get off?
Like,
if you have 20 minutes, why are we jumping off? Isn't that like a?
Oh, it's one of those fuck women and children situations. I'm getting off as quick as I can. I don't care about your rules of. Order.
Yeah. Women and children first. That's how it's supposed to go.
No, it's fuck it. Cory doesn't like boats, so he's the first one off.
Arguably, I think you could go with both the women and the children. I think. I mean, I think my guess would be that you're that guy on the Titanic who throws the shawl over his shoulders and hops on the boat first.
Yeah,
that's what I'm thinking.
Please, Sonny, let me on.
Well, no, I got a chance to. You and I were talking about this a little earlier this week. I heard a lot about last week's broadcast.
Actually, one thing before we get too far into that, because I know what you're going to say.
Sorry.
I wanted to specifically say that Aaron EP, who at some point will be on this podcast,
yes,
she has expressed an interest,
but she is too busy. EP,
far too busy with her. It's lawyering for you, but it's
the nursing
for her.
Right, the nursing.
I wish there was a non-realistic word for her as well.
Triaging? No, that's still a word.
Yeah, that's still a word. And it doesn't sound bad. Like,
no.
Lawyering is clearly not a word.
Right, yeah.
And it sounds funny.
Yeah.
Because it demeans what you do.
Right.
I don't know.
It doesn't demean what I do.
Nurses deserve all our respect, and lawyers deserve none of it. Is basically what I'm trying to say. But her sister's college mascot was also the Flying Dutchman.
Yeah.
Lebanon Valley College in Pennsylvania. So
okay.
Go Dutch, I guess is what I want to say there.
Good. A big shout out to Lebanon Valley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a college.
Apparently. But no, like I said, we were talking about some of the reaction that I got, which was surprising. I thought maybe that we would get a reaction about our positions on the internet or baseball or even not all our friends are baseball fans.
Right.
And I thought maybe like, why are you talking about baseball the first time? No, that's not the reaction.
I figured somebody would take offense with me calling Jeffrey Mayer dickless, but I guess everyone's in agreement on that.
Yeah, mostly Orioles fans. So I think that and the same ages, so we're right there with you.
I think not enough Yankee fans have picked up this podcast yet to be offended.
And I'm okay with that.
That's fine. Yeah. I don't care.
Yeah. Anyway, so the big reaction. I love New York. The big reaction that I got was about the Beth comments. Surprisingly enough, I did get a comment about the single-ish from the.
You know, it's something I wanted to touch on.
Yeah.
When I realized when I listened to it again that I just sort of breezed right by that. I should have.
Yeah.
But that'll probably be a topic for next week, I imagine. But.
Because next week, what's the topic next week?
Relationships and so generalized relationships.
I think we're dating.
Yeah, that
women.
Sort of thing.
We're hoping to have a couple women here because I don't think we have much of a perspective.
Well, I mean, as I know right now, Erin has said that she'll be on.
Yeah, we got
my girlfriend Erin, not EP.
Yeah, because EP is too busy. Shannon's apparently too busy too.
Well, Shannon's working.
That's not an excuse. But yeah, so the single-ish comment definitely got one sort of very vigorous response. But the other one was I got a call and text messages from several people who were like, "Oh my God, I'm a Beth."
No, they realize that they're a Beth.
No, well, I don't want to say that. I don't want to say that they realized they're a Beth. They questioned whether they were a Beth. And here's what I'm going to say about that. In my discussions with them and my subsequent discussions with you, pop culture is what it is.
Yeah.
It's all fun and games, and we're going to touch on it next week. But you know, I would not date a person because they had a name. Now you might.
Maybe.
Okay.
I mean, I should probably touch on that a little bit.
Yeah.
The Beth that I was thinking of specifically, I know is not going to be listening to this podcast because I haven't talked to her in...
Well, no. She did.
Are you talking about the second Beth?
Oh, the second Beth. Yes, the second Beth.
Well, no, I wasn't talking about her.
Oh, okay.
I was talking about the first Beth.
Oh, all right, all right.
Like the first... So my first girlfriend, quote-unquote girlfriend,
right,
was a Beth who broke my heart. And it was that first, like... It's that first relationship, so even though it was never going to last and it was never anything serious,
yeah,
you know, you're going to get in more shenanigans at the bar tonight than I ever got with her in the whatever weeks that we dated.
Yeah.
But it kind of hurt.
Right.
But that name carried over.
Right.
That hurt lingered.
And the second Beth.
The second Beth, it was one of those, it wasn't her fault. It was just a... What do you say? The name carried over.
Right.
So it was always a hurdle to get over.
Right.
And that's where that came from.
And I think that's the same thing. Again, I would not date someone because they had the name.
Right.
There's got to be other factors involved. Now, I'm out to no one specifically. I got contacted by a couple of people.
Right.
All on the same topic. Honestly, they're probably not listening. That's we probably lost.
They're already gone.
Lost some listeners, but I mean, when it comes down to it, there are other factors involved. It's funny. Calm down. Honestly, it's a funny. Cory and I have known each other a very long time. We exchange barbs. We exchange stories. Reductio ad absurdum. Sometimes we take these concepts and we take them to their illogical extreme because it's funny.
Right.
So just calm down. Can we get a comment about the internet being taken over by Comcast? No. Am I a Beth? Are you saying that you broke up with me because I have somebody's name? Jesus Christ. Anyway, so, and I got to say a comment. It's distracting me slightly because I'm not used to it. Last week we were watching, I don't know what we were watching. We were watching something on Netflix.
It was paused.
It was, but it was something up on the screen.
It was just the comedy. It's like one of those
Women of Comedy. Was that what
Women of Comedy? Like every
Women Who Kill. It was Women Who Kill on Netflix.
Every single comedy special now has to be 5 of something.
Right.
It's 5 black guys and it's the king of comedy. It's 5
First of all, that was 4.
Whatever.
And I'm going to throw out there to the kings of comedy. If any of you are listening to this, don't let Cory disrespect you. That movie changed my life.
I enjoy all of those. I'm just saying. It's a new thing that you put.
Yeah.
4 or 5 comedians who all fit a certain, I don't even want to say niche.
Right.
But like a certain, like, you know, people who like blue collar comedy, like the Blue Collar Comedy Tour.
Yeah, of course.
You know, the women that were in that stand up that we were watching are all sort of similar, like brash women.
Yeah.
So if you like brash female comedy, that's your deal.
Right.
But we had that on the TV.
And we don't today. And I just realized I can't show a picture of what... But you'll be watching this. So
if you check out the YouTube.
The YouTube video is where you'll be able to see it. Yeah, we actually... Cory, brilliant idea, said it was kind of boring just having the logo up there while people listened on YouTube. So stepping our game up, return to the podcast, we now are on video. That's Rob. That's me. On the... I guess your right. And Cory. That's Cory on the left.
In the chive shirt.
This is us in my dirty apartment.
It looks like a podcast, too.
It does.
Just 2 people sitting on a couch.
Just recording away. Well, and so anyway, so that's us. I hope you enjoyed this a lot more than you did just sitting and listening to us. Although I got to say, a lot of positive comments. We've been friends a long time. We've had conversations in which people were around while we were having them.
Right.
And I think we got the same level of entertainment by people listening on the podcast that we do when they're around us. And it's like, you two, what the hell is up with you two? Like, just our give and take.
Well, not only that, but I feel like a lot of we used to have these epic conversations at Hofstra.
Yeah.
Outside smoking, basically.
Right.
We'd smoking a cigarette. We'd be outside. And we'd be having epic conversations about whatever. And people would walk by. People that we know.
Right.
And they would hear me or you say something and then jump in.
Yeah.
And then walk away after they realize that we weren't going to stop talking about this for quite some time.
Yeah, I miss
They're
that.
just like, oh, I got to go eat now.
Yeah.
And then leave.
Yeah.
But I feel like this is sort of continued in a I don't want to say interrupting fashion, but like I'll get a comment from somebody a couple days after the fact saying like, oh my God, when you guys were talking about, you know, who you would want to go to dinner with.
Right.
Like, oh, it totally made me think, and I think I would go with Jesus, and I'm just like, all right, well.
And I got a lot of that too, and I really enjoyed that. And I got to say that, you know, a year from now when we're in a studio and we have like the big board with the phone lines, I'm really going to enjoy having people call it. And
oh yeah, it's going to be when it's this. What I think I love most about the video right here.
Yeah,
and I was talking with Aaron earlier about what I like about the podcast. Even though it, you know, my goal is film.
Right.
And this isn't specifically like anything that's promoting film. But it, you know, when I am in the middle of a project, we're going to talk a lot about that.
Yep. Yeah.
When something that I'm researching for a project comes up, we'll talk about that. You know, it'll be in and out.
It's real life. I mean, that's what we do.
Right. But I think that what I enjoy most about this is the prospect of being able to connect with people over a long period of time.
Right.
And it's all an evolution. Last week, we had a YouTube video where you could hear the podcast, which just said the Anthem podcast logo. Now we have a GoPro set up.
Live video.
Yeah, so you can see us sitting here talking.
And
I don't think anybody's going to watch the video part. No. They're probably going to still listen to the audio.
Yeah.
But it just makes me feel better to know.
Well, and you know who we are now. You know what I mean? So
now you can see.
Yeah. But it's going to continue
see my man boobs.
It's going to continue to evolve. It's going to continue to change. And here's the thing. Nobody can stop us. So theoretically, we could do this forever. And someday my future wife, wherever she is, will be able to go back and say, wow, you were such a jackass when you were single. You had such a horrible mentality. And thank God we didn't start this 5 years ago.
She'll probably still be saying the same thing.
Probably so, yeah.
When you guys are together.
Yeah.
I don't imagine the jackass part is going to go anywhere.
Probably not. But at least it didn't start 5 years ago, because I could say it's a lot better now than it was back in the narcissistic.
I've grown up slightly.
Just slightly. But anyway, so back to your birthday. Did you have a good birthday week?
That was awesome. It's 30 is probably the last consequential birthday for a while.
Right, yeah.
But it's weird because every birthday has sort of like a reason for, like 16 you can start driving. 18 you can buy cigarettes and porn and lottery tickets.
Which I did all three.
Yeah, I did all three.
Yeah,
I walked in proudly on my 18th birthday. I went to Royal Farm. I bought a Playboy, a pack of cigarettes, and a lotto ticket. And just popped it down on the table. And I was just like, "What you gonna do, Ma? Can't stop me now."
And that was the first pack of cigarettes and the last porno that Cory ever had.
No, I had cigarettes way before that and way after.
Yeah,
but I haven't bought much porn in my life, to be honest.
I'm just saying at all, because I think it's very clear that you do. Let's just be honest. Men watch pornography. That's what happened.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
I wish I had a breaking news drop of some sort.
But
I don't know how many times I've actually bought pornography.
No, I mean there's this thing called the internet.
Yeah, I mean that's basically
it's free.
You just you gotta fancy to something, and you just type it in the Googles, and then eventually it comes back up.
Type it into the Googles.
Yeah.
Anyway, so your birthday's in the range of Easter,
right?
And I know you're Catholic.
Yep.
Has it ever fallen on Easter, Good Friday, or Maundy Thursday, or one of the other important holidays? Ash Wednesday.
Not that I can recall. I know that I came home from the hospital on Easter.
So it can happen.
Yeah. I guess it must have happened at some point because it lines up like that sort of. It's weird because me and I'm sort of around Easter most of the time.
Yeah.
My birthday. My brother is 5 days before Christmas.
Right.
So he's always, it's kind of sucks though. Like when you're a kid and you get Easter things too.
Right.
like Easter's never like a big like holiday where you're getting a haul like you do at Christmas.
Or at Halloween, which would be a similar,
right?
Because of candy.
Yeah, but I mean, like you don't get a Halloween present.
No, you don't.
Sometimes you get an Easter present, like
a
little song. It's never anything like huge.
Yeah, I just spent $200 today on Easter presents for a child that is not mine.
Well, that's just because you're like a modern day Saint Nick.
Because I'm in love with children. I'm in love with all children in a very paternal way only.
Yeah,
just so that's clear.
Not a inappropriate Michael Jackson kind of way.
No, just a paternal way. And she is gorgeous, and I love her to death. And Marley Grace, when you hear this in 20 years, I'm talking about you. So I happily did it. And as I walked out of the we were talking about this earlier, Terry. When I walked out of the store, I was just like, generally when I drop $200 on a girl, I'm expecting the evening to go a different way.
Right.
But now I know my kids are gonna be spoiled because she walked around and she was just like, "Oh, green." So I bought her a green dress because she likes green.
All right, well.
Horrible. But so Easter this year doesn't fall on your birthday.
No,
but it does fall on 4/20.
Yeah,
and I want to say maybe both of our birthday celebrations next year may be a little different.
If the law continues to go the way it's going?
Well, I mean, my birthday won't come before the session's over, so it won't be that. Yours will.
Right, but we probably have a solid couple months afterwards.
Yeah, it'll be just like it is now in October. So, but we could still possess. That's the whole point. And
right.
So, in celebration of 420, of course, as we talked about last week, as we talked about all of this week, if you follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere, because I've been promoting it so heavily. We are talking about pot this week.
Yeah. Well, 420 is for those who are uninitiated.
Let's go into the background, Corey. Give me some background on that.
The background, I actually listened to a really great article.
Is that the one you sent me?
I did. Did you listen to it?
I did, yeah.
Okay. So many people have different visions of what 420 is. Overall, I'll just say that it's sort of the number associated with pot smoking.
Right.
With weed, marijuana, ganj, whatever your chosen term for it is.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, we're saying pot for this bit, but some people thought it was a police code, which it wasn't.
Right. That's the urban legend is New York City Police code for a pot arrest was a code 420.
Right.
420.
Right. Like, so if you ever heard a police officer shout into a microphone, like, we got a 913 going on.
Right, yeah.
That means something. I think 817 was murder somewhere in that
L.A.
area.
That was in L.A.,
yeah,
right?
817 is murder in L.A. And I think 420 became... The urban legend was that it was a police code somewhere for pot.
Right, yeah.
And it got spread around. But it was actually just like a group of buddies who were trying to find like a mysterious weed field somewhere. They heard that somebody was growing weed in a field, and they were trying to find it every day. And they met at 420.
I'm trying to remember. I feel like it's like the Valhalla thing in Southern California, kind of a similar mission to find a unicorn of pot fields,
right?
Whereas Valhalla was the skateboarding park, but
and the group was they called themselves the Waldos, I believe is what it was in the article. And the only reason why it became mainstream really was because they were in some way friends with the Grateful Dead, who sort of loved it and made it a thing. And then obviously we know most of the Grateful Dead fans are also fans of Rockin' the Ganj. So
is that true? I don't even know. Is that true? Well, and let me just take and you can.
I think there's at least 15% of the fan base of that group.
I think it's a low estimate. I think it's a very low estimate.
Well, I don't know. I haven't taken a census. So.
Yeah. Well, and here's what I'll say before we get into this topic. Certainly, there's questions as to federal law and state law. Corey and I are in the state of Maryland, as you see us right now. From all points forward of this, we are speaking solely in informational terms. As a lawyer, I just gotta put it out there. I mean, you get my emails from my account. I am a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. and you shouldn't take anything we say here today as legal advice. This is not legal advice. This is informational and entertainment purposes only. If you have a question about the marijuana law, you should seek a qualified attorney, of which I am one, so you can contact me in a different context, but this is not meant to be legal advice. Do not rely on this for the use of your own affairs.
You can contact him, but you will have to pay his hourly rate, which I'm pretty sure is $10.50 an hour. We haven't discussed it in a while, but last I heard,
slightly better than that. That was when I was delivering pizzas. Now, now I'm a lawyer.
Yeah, no,
But
also, I all the time I think about hiring you for things, and I'm just like, right, not $10.50.
Yeah,
I can't solve this problem for $50.
No, can't do it. No, $50 would buy not much of my time.
$50 will get me to your receptionist.
Yeah, and Christine could help you out. Natasha or Christine could help you out for $10.50. I think they'd take it and just do it, but they can't give you legal advice either. So.
Right. Yeah.
Also, another, I guess, what are we calling it? Drop? Is that what the drop is?
Yeah.
Okay, and another drop. Moving forward, any hilarious colloquialisms or stories that are told are purely hypothetical. I'm going to say from the jump right now, I did not inhale. Just so that's clear.
If you didn't inhale, you were doing it wrong. I will feel free to tell stories because I don't really care that much.
I am going to tell stories about people that I know who had funny situations, but were not me, just so that's clear, not me.
Well, another thing before we get too far into this, I should say that we were hoping to have somebody who was high with us at the time of this recording.
Yes.
But
whatever happened to him?
He was doing something that was like, I don't know, it's the usual pothead type of thing. I think he was working or something like that, supporting the damn economy.
Those potheads always going to work. And, I'm not even going to say his name because he doesn't even get a shout-out.
No.
He doesn't get a shout-out because he's not here.
Nor his band.
Which is a pretty awesome band.
So, yeah, Dave's not here, man.
Anyway, so getting back to the topic, where obviously today we're talking about marijuana. Maryland, where we are, has recently gone down the road and been the 18th state that has decriminalized marijuana. Now, you and I have talked about this ad nauseum over the last 12 years about how, I am not a pot smoker. I would never, ever claim to be one. But it's not because it's bad.
Right.
It's because it's
illegal.
It's
a preference.
Yeah, it's illegal. I can't do it. I don't want to. We talked last week about me planning everything out into the future and how I have to think about how is that going to impact me, and that's just one of those things that I can't risk a pot arrest. But
right, I mean, if you look at the history of presidents of the United States, for instance,
yeah,
is there any record that Obama smoked weed?
I think so.
Oh, well, never mind. I guess we could throw that one out.
All right, so I mean, if we can go
backwards. But if
you
got convicted of a felony, you wouldn't be able to be president.
No, you can still be president.
If you got convicted of a felony, you
couldn't
can't vote, but you can run for president?
Yeah, couldn't vote for yourself, but you can run for president. That's not one of the rules.
Shit, how did I not know that?
Come on, man, you're killing me.
You can be a felon and you can be somebody who's not from this country and still be president?
No.
Oh.
You have to be from this country. You have to be born here or in one of our military zones. John McCain can run for president because he was born in the Panama Canal Zone, which is technically the U.S. at that time.
Whenever I listen to TV news, I just turn on all the channels at once.
Yeah.
And I think some of my information just gets in there incorrectly. So.
Yeah, that could be it. Yeah. So you have to be 35 years old.
Right.
You have to be born a citizen of the United States, although there's some legal conversation about if you were naturalized later, could you then run?
Right.
But Alexander Hamilton never ran because he was naturalized, but he wasn't born here. So, yeah, I think those are the only two rules. 35, born.
No Irish.
No Irish need apply.
Yeah. No Irish need apply.
Kennedy? What? I don't even think that's the only one. Franklin Pierce? Pierce is an Irish name, isn't it?
Yeah. There was plenty. I was going to
say.
I was making a joke. So no Catholics.
Kennedy. Kennedy. Yeah. But no, okay, so
he's a trailblazer.
I mean, we can backtrack. We could say Obama was pot.
Yeah.
Bush was coke.
Bush was pot too, though.
Bush was pot too, but the worst of the worst was the coke. Clinton was pot. That was where
I did not inhale.
Perhaps he did not actually use pot. I don't know. Before that was Bush the first, who opium. I don't know. He's old. I can't imagine.
I can't imagine he did anything really.
Yeah, I mean, he was a WW2 vet. Like that's hard liquor. That's what he did.
But I mean, regardless of the history, the predilections of former presidents, which is sort of getting way off base.
This happens. This tends to happen in our conversation.
This goes on when we talk. But I think the important thing to focus on now is that in Maryland, there's going to be new rules, new guidelines that affect pot smokers.
And irony of ironies, the law goes into effect on August 1st or October 1st.
Correct.
And I still have some pot cases that are coming up. Possession less than 10 grams, which is what the law. Okay, so just to be clear, the law has changed in this. Distribution is still a crime. Possession of more than 10 grams is still a crime, although I think that they dropped it from 3 years to 1. But that's not what we're making the focus of. The focus is the
Would it be a felony, though, or a misdemeanor?
I think it's a misdemeanor. I think that's one of the changes that they made. But the fact is that from my perspective, it's can you go to jail for it or not? Is it taken seriously enough that they'd put you in jail? Over 10 grams is still a crime. The way that we think of crimes is still jail time. Under 10 grams, starting October 1st, would be a civil citation. So that means that it's I don't even think it's a must appear. It's a misdemeanor, and you pay a fine.
It's like a traffic ticket, right?
Basically the same thing. Yeah, it can have consequences on your outside life, obviously. The most important of which being employers can still drug test you, and we have not adopted the accurate breath test for THC, which is something we're going to bring up later, which you didn't know about yet. So if it's in your system, your employer can still fire you, and you can't use in public. But if you are caught on a secondary thing, like most pot smokers who get caught on getting pulled over for a taillight and they have a joint on them, anything less than 10 grams would be a citation and release.
Is it a forfeiture as well?
I don't believe it's even a forfeiture.
So you could have 10 grams, get pulled over.
Yeah,
and they could write you a ticket for $100 and you keep the weed?
I think that in reality, no.
Right.
I think no matter what the law said, they would take it from you. Unless, as we're going to talk about later, Maryland became more like Colorado. But as it is, possession is not a crime.
Unless you could probably prove medicinal.
And that's the other hijinks in this now, is that Maryland also passed a bill which will not only give you a defense if you are using pot for medicinal purposes, but will actually allow you to possess it. And I think that's why the reality is that cops will always take it, because they're going to assume that you just have it for recreational use. What should probably happen is that you would automatically keep it and just get the citation. But Maryland passed medicinal marijuana 2 years ago, I think. It was an insanely stupid system because it relied on teaching hospitals in Maryland to get a license.
And none of them wanted to do it.
Well, it's illegal federally, and they depend on federal funds. So why would you as a hospital risk your federal funding over pot?
Exactly.
And you wouldn't. So now doctors can prescribe and patients can go directly to authorized growers, so that the hospitals are taken out of it. Gotcha. And then instead of being a defense at trial, it would be you have a prescription, you're able to have it. It's like owning a handgun. You'd have to always have your prescription card on you. I think that the concern, or not card, your prescription on you. I think that the concern for people is that, there's still cops still going to take it. So it is what it is. But just to be clear, decriminalization does not mean that you can smoke it in the street. It doesn't mean that if you get caught buying it, you are still going to jail.
Well, let's take this, a follow up on the legal side that you can sort of illuminate us on.
Sure.
States that have no any kind of laws either legalizing it or medical or anything like that, like Texas.
Yeah.
In Texas, it's not illegal to be high.
No. Nowhere in the U.S. is it illegal to be high.
Right. And it's not illegal to smoke it unless you get caught doing it, correctly?
No. Most states haven't basically an imbibing. Like if they caught you and here's the thing. Yes and no. If they catch you smoking it, they catch you in possession of it.
Right.
So it would fall under the possession. So yes, in a way, you're if you are ingesting it, you are possessing it. It just, once it's in your bloodstream and the evidence is gone, having it in your bloodstream is not possession.
Well, I guess if, say, and I'm going to use technical terms here, so if you don't know what any of these things mean, I guess ask your shady cousin or whatever. But say you have a bowl with some res in it.
Yeah.
And you're walking down a public street.
Yeah.
You'd probably get paraphernalia, but...
And probably a possession charge.
But, you know, if you smoked up the rest of the res...
If you had a brand new bowl...
Right.
You probably would... Arguably could beat a possession or a paraphernalia charge. Because you have to prove that it was used to smoke something illegal.
Right.
If you had a bowl with res in it, the limit is, do they have enough that they can test it and prove that it's marijuana? Once they hit the value that allows them to test it, now you're in possession of marijuana as well. Right. So it's one of those tail chasing the dog. What is it?
Dog chasing the tail?
Dog chasing the tail. Catch-22. Let's go with that. Catch-22. Yeah. It's one of those catch-22 things where if you get enough to test, you're automatically in possession of marijuana. But the bowl by itself with res, even if they can't test it, even if you were just smoking tobacco out of it, you'd have to prove that it wasn't pot, which you can't tell.
Yeah.
So basically. It would be a paraphernalia charge no matter what.
I think it's funny that you can sell paraphernalia at like gas stations.
Yeah.
Like I think I bought a bowl once at a Sunoco or something like that.
The one in Easton.
Is there one in Easton?
Yeah, they have little pieces in Easton.
Yeah, but I mean, like you can buy them, and you know, everywhere around it says for tobacco use only.
Yeah, no.
But I imagine if I just walked down Pratt Street with tobacco in a bowl and was lighting it up like you would weed.
Wait, you'd be fine.
Well, I'd be fine because I'm white.
Yeah.
But
let's be honest. I mean, right. Not to be racist. Let's be honest about it. You're in Baltimore City. You're fine.
That's really most of the problem.
Yeah,
is that a large degree of people in Maryland who are getting caught with weed. It was sort of like a get out of here, you punk kids, if you're white.
Yeah,
and it's spread your legs and lift your sack black. Like,
whoa, Dave Chappelle! Welcome back to 2002.
I love the term, but I mean it's serious. Like it was for and not just black people, but every minority community was getting hosed.
35% of the United States' inmate population is minorities who are arrested and charged and convicted with what is personal possession of marijuana in Colorado. You can legally have it in Colorado now, but 35% of the people in United States prisons are there for the same thing, which is just ridiculous.
And this is kind of something I wanted to bring up.
Yeah.
I started crunching numbers before we recorded this.
Before you get into that, I just want to say one thing. Just so it's clear, if you mention pot at all in those places, they kick you out. She who should not be named was working as a stripper, and there's a place down on East, way outside of the city. Not Alisano. What's down near Alisano that runs out of town? Lombard? No, not Lombard. Eastern Avenue. There's a place called Firefly, which is a stripper accessory store. And they also have a head shop there. And we were there for her stripper accessories. And a guy came in and was just like hinting at it.
Yeah.
And finally he said, come on, man, we both know what I'm using this for. And this guy comes out of nowhere, grabs him by the shoulders, throws him out the door. And I'm like, that's how strict they are on it. Yeah. That you cannot even hint that you may use this for pot.
Right.
Or else you're out because they're so worried about getting busted. Also as a black kid. So that's probably why. But, I might have been able to get away with it. But go ahead. Sorry.
Here's the thing I wanted to mention. 38% of people have said that they have smoked weed before. 38% of Americans.
And 62% lied.
Well, I mean, I think that it sort of set itself up as like, listen, this is an anonymous call.
Right.
We don't care. We're not reporting any kind of information about like who you are or what you do or.
No, we
don't care if you're an airline pilot. Just tell us honestly. Have you ever smoked weed in your life?
What was their
38% of Americans said they have.
What was their sampling size? Is there any other information on that?
I have it, but I didn't write it down.
Because, again, if you include people who are only 65 and younger, I think that goes up.
Oh, yeah. And if you exclude people who are 12 and younger,
right,
it goes up a lot, too.
Yeah.
But, you know, I'm not saying that 12-year-olds are out getting high on weed all the time, but, you know, there's a percentage of kids in their teenage years who do it. But, you know, realistically, if we put that sample size to 16 to 65...
Much higher than that.
I have to imagine it's closer to 50, 75%, somewhere in that area.
Well, keep in mind that in Washington and Colorado, their ballot initiatives, which is how they got to legalization,
right,
were with 50-plus people voting. Now, I'm sure that most of those, not all of the people who did that, have actually smoked before. Some of them are libertarians who just say, you should have the right to do it even though I don't do it, which is kind of where my perspective is. But... you know, they passed with much larger majorities in their bodies of politic. You know, that it was 70% of the people voted for it, and I think that's a sentiment as to what the delegates, the Congress people, whoever, think where their electors are at. That it's much more than that. So, but yeah,
roughly speaking, though, just to throw out another number, 18.1% of people smoke cigarettes.
Yeah. Less.
Are currently smokers.
Right.
So you're talking about, you know, 1 out of 5 people. Think of all the people you know and how many of them are smokers. 1 in 5, in addition to that, is how many people have smoked pot.
Right.
So that number to me sounds like, you know, this should be a pretty commonplace, like, I feel like if you've done it, you know it's not a big deal. It's not harmful. It's not...
Well, and I think I have some more startling statistics than that, even. A Maryland survey was done by Baltimore Sun. I think they did 2,500 people in a similar, we're not going to tell anybody who you are or anything, don't tell us any information, just answer the questions and we're done. So 2,500 being a statistically accurate prediction, by the way, for the state. Do you support or oppose allowing seriously and terminally ill patients to safely obtain medical marijuana if their doctors recommend it? Support 72%.
Yeah.
Would you support or oppose a change in the law to make it a civil citation to possess an ounce or less of marijuana without jail time? $100 fine. 68%. 2 states, Colorado and Washington, changed their laws to allow marijuana to be regulated like alcohol. Would you support Maryland law being changed similarly? 53% support.
Well, and that's, you know, specifically with Colorado, because they're the only ones who are all-out legalization right now.
Yeah.
You can go to a store and buy weed.
Although Washington's moving that direction. The law allows for it.
The law allows for it, but they're not there yet.
No.
You can't walk into a store in Seattle and buy weed at the moment.
God, if that...
Right, but I'm saying in
Revival.
Colorado, in Denver, you can do that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. And Denver's basically the only place, too. There's only 30 shops that are open.
Right.
18 of them are in the city of Denver.
Yeah,
so.
But Denver is where the people are.
Right, yeah.
The vast majority of people that's the biggest city, so obviously.
Right.
But
sorry, I interrupted you.
It's 25% tax or something like that.
25%. I got the bill right here. Go ahead, fill some time.
25% tax, I believe, on marijuana purchased, which is already the wholesale price apparently of the marijuana is already less than what you would pay from some dealer, you know, some shady kid on the corner, kind of thing.
Wholesale, yes.
Wholesale price, you're paying less. Yeah. Then you're putting on 25%, so maybe you're getting a little bit more than you would normally pay if you bought it illegally. But 25% is going to Colorado schools, and it has been an overwhelming success.
Yeah, so and here, while we're talking about that,
no violence, nothing.
$125,000. The first $125,000 goes to the Department of Social and Health Sciences to design and administer health safety. Oh, sorry, this is Washington, but health safety programs. Let me find Colorado's.
Just keep saying Chicago.
I know, God.
You want this Windy City to be a little bit breezy.
It'll be like what's the market in
well, it's a sidebar. Sidebar. We were told we should call this a sidebar podcast too.
Yeah.
But sidebar, I think Chicago would be a perfect city for everyone to be high. Because when I went there, it's a legitimate big city like New York is. But getting anywhere in Chicago takes so long. Like, everyone just has that Midwestern, like, I'll get there when I get there vibe.
Right. It'd be better if they were high.
No hustle and bustle. I mean, like, if you're going to do that, you might as well be high while you're doing it. That's just my take. My 2 cents on the matter.
What I hate is I do so much prep for this, and then you ask for one detail, and I got to search.
Shovel through 97 papers.
I know. God.
It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah, 25%.
25%, but then, you know, a portion goes to drug counseling, like the first little bit at the top.
Yeah. And then, no. In Colorado, it's $40 million off the top to schools. Schools get $40 million. If they only take in $41 million, $40 million still goes to schools.
Right. Then
out of that, they do a percentage. A percentage goes to drug treatment programs, including adding beds to facilities, which, by the way, marijuana smokers don't use. That's to address the other drug problems that they have.
And people bitch about, like, how much healthcare costs and stuff like that. And all these problems that we have. I'm young, I'm healthy, but I'm a smoker.
Yeah.
So insurance costs more for me because they imagine that it's going to cost more for me when I'm elderly and dying of lung cancer.
P.S. What are the odds that you have the same insurance today that you do when you're actually having the health problems? That's what I didn't get.
Oh, it's going to be dramatically bigger. But I mean, like, regardless, me, 30-year-old, healthy smoker.
I'm going to be air quotes,
healthy smoker pays less for insurance probably than my father.
Right.
Who is in his 70s and is not a smoker, is in fine physical shape.
Yeah.
But he's just in his 70s. So now they're trying to get him every chance they get.
He does have a high risk of testicle injuries, though. Those short shorts.
Oh, yeah.
Which, by the way, sidebar again, I am so glad he wore those shorts to your birthday party. It was like a flashback to 2002. Wait, what was the guard for the Jazz in the 90s? John Stockton.
Yeah.
He was rocking the John Stocktons, and oh god, it was a beautifully terrifying thing.
Yeah. Whenever he would drop me off at the Christiana Mall to meet you on the drive back to Hofstra.
Always rocking the short shorts. Nobody's got legs like Bill Baker. That's absolutely true. How do we let's get this train back on the tracks. Where were we? 25%, or a portion goes to drug treatment.
Right.
A portion goes to the schools, teaching hospitals and schools in Colorado. A portion goes to the programs or groups who want to do research on the long-term health effects of marijuana. Like, they have picked out the perfect law where whatever's left, a portion does go to the general fund. But the tax money is going directly to such positive things, it's hard to say no.
I feel like I haven't heard any pushback from anybody, really, about that happening.
Well, no, but see,
I think everyone is pretty much okay with the fact that, like, this is the price we pay for this to be, like, kind of like smokers have sort of, like, given into the, all right, well, I'm going to have to pay $4 worth of tax on every pack of cigarettes I buy.
Yeah.
Because, you know, and it's going to something else. And, you know, I'd rather pay $2 for cigarettes, but I don't really care that much. And
right. Well, here's what I'll say. There are some negative connotations. So let's just go there. Number one, there is still an illegal drug trade in Colorado.
Yeah.
They have done nothing to... And let me we're going to take a sidebar, but it's a related sidebar. Back in 2002, when we first met, I told you I had this great idea to legalize, which was to tell the cigarette companies that they could grow and sell weed.
Right.
All they had to do was figure out a way that the police could tell whether it was legal weed or illegal weed. And if you gave that to the cigarette companies, we would have a solution in about 3 months. Or wait, how long does it take a crop to grow? 6 months. So an hydroponics is like 6 weeks for the crop to grow. So 3 months, you would have a solution because they would develop some sort of strain that when you drop it in a solution, it turns blue. And if the cops take it out of your pocket and they drop it in and it doesn't turn blue, it's illegal weed. You're going to jail.
Yeah.
Nobody would ever buy illegal weed again. they would just be like, it's not worth the risk. I got to pay 25% on tax, but when a cop drops it in and it turns blue, I'm good, and I can blow it in his face.
Right.
Whatever.
Hypothetically.
Yeah. And
police still wouldn't appreciate that at all.
And to be fair, just again, so it's clear, nowhere in Maryland, especially with the decriminalization, but even in Colorado and Washington, can you smoke in public. It's basically the same rules as alcohol. You can't consume it in public. You can consume it in public view, but it has to be on private property. So you could sit on your front porch and drink a beer.
Please, for the love of God, don't put a paper bag over your head and smoke it like that, because it will not work. It's not. Number one, that paper bag gets caught on fire more times than not.
I just feel like that's a fire hazard. But no, so there's some pushback. There's still a legal drug trade because it's more open. The cops aren't busting down on the illegal drug trade, and the legal shops hate it because the first thing they did is every kid who had an idea to sell pot is now selling pot because cops don't really care anymore. And the solution that I came up with, the second solution in 2002, was either tell the cigarette companies to do what they got to do or legalize it everywhere. Because we've discussed this before. The drug trade between Mexico and the United States, which is where the majority of it comes in, and yes, 1%ers, I know that they do grow pot in Canada, and it comes down from Canada. The far majority comes from Mexico and points south. That they make 95% of their profits on marijuana. Yeah. So if we found a way to legalize it and grow it here, and again, the cigarette companies do that, that means that the drug cartels lose 95% of their profit. You want to take heroin off the street, cocaine, any of those harder drugs that come in, that's what you do.
Yeah.
Make pot legal.
And completely, I got to call bullshit on people who say that weed is a gateway drug.
Oh, absolutely not.
Because here's the thing. If you have a predilection of addiction, then you're probably going to smoke weed and then move on to cocaine and then move on to heroin, blah, 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 et cetera. Right. Move on to a harder substance, regardless of if weed existed or not.
Willie Nelson is 89 years old. If it's a gateway drug, the gateway better open soon because he's running out of time.
Right.
But if you want to look at it that way, I hate when people argue that because you know what? Of the pot smokers that I know, 90% of them smoke cigarettes too. Yeah. So that technically means tobacco is a gateway drug to pot, which is tobacco is a gateway drug to all drugs. But it's legal. We can walk no more than 5 blocks from where we are right now and buy cigarettes.
There's people who have problems with like caffeine. Mm-hmm. Nobody's saying caffeine's a gateway drug.
But I guarantee everyone who smokes pot drinks coffee or drinks soda or some other kind of. I mean, again, 90%.
Not all, but 90%. I mean, like, yeah.
Those who are over 21 drink alcohol. Even those who are under 21 drink alcohol. Nobody's saying alcohol is a gateway drug.
Right.
When it comes down to it, it's demonization. And actually, I'm glad we brought that up because you and I were talking before about a study that just came up.
Well, real quick before we while we segue to that, right now and for the better part of 40 years, 50 years now, West Baltimore has been just a open air drug market.
Oh yeah.
I mean, if you've seen The Wire, it's not far off from being absolutely true.
And you and I live downtown, and we hung out with some characters who had some drug problems. It is what it is. You meet people downtown, you meet people with drug problems. But I've been there. I've seen them. They know that the cops roll through every 15 minutes, and it's like Islamabad. The tents go up. They're selling. Alarm sounds. Tents go down. Everybody disappears.
Right.
Cop rolls through the block.
Yeah.
Tents open back up.
But I mean they're selling heroin and stuff like that. Yeah. But the reason why they can spend all day selling heroin is because people are buying coke, people are buying weed, people are buying pills, people are buying whatever. They have it all covered. Mm-hmm. But weed is the vast majority of suburban kids rolling through picking up some weed.
Right. And by the way, if you're a white kid in Holland's Market, everybody knows why you're there. Everybody knows why you're there.
Everyone knows.
You're not fooling anybody. The cops just don't care.
I feel like we could solve Maryland specifically and Baltimore probably more specifically could solve a lot of problems if they just taxed it, made it legal, and moved on. A lot of that West Baltimore problem would solve itself if so much illegal money wasn't going to dealers there.
Yeah, and again, you bust a guy with $10,000 worth of heroin. The only reason he still stays in business is because he's doing $100,000 worth of pot a year.
Oh, absolutely.
That's how he's making his money. That's how you run the risk. From the level of the street dealer all the way up to the cartel level, getting it here into the country, they can only afford the risk of the harder drugs because they make so much money from pot. So you just have to take that out.
And furthermore, hold on. I had another stat here that I wanted to bring out. Since 1996, roughly 600,000 to 880,000 arrests have been made in the United States for marijuana.
Right.
So during that 18 years that we're talking about here, that means 1 or 2 out of every 1,000 people in the United States, regardless of age, from birth to death, 1 out of every 1,000 has been arrested.
Now, to be fair, because I'm going to play devil's advocate,
okay,
some of those people were arrested more than once.
True.
Some of those were the same guy getting arrested once a month.
Yeah, getting arrested every single time. But I mean, that's a sort of shocking number.
No, it is. It's a big number.
I mean, and you know, go back to the quote unquote 38% who have said they smoked before.
Right.
I feel like we're all sort of like, it's not that bad of a. I know way more people, like an alarming amount more people who have had too much to drink and gotten behind the wheel.
Right.
And said, fuck you, you can't tell me what to do, you're not my dad.
Realistically.
Then I know people who have done anything like other than fall asleep and watch Half-Baked. Well,
realistically, I mean, people say it, I'm just going to put it out there. If you get behind the wheel of a car and you're drunk, well, number one, it doesn't sound like a bad idea. You know, we all know the guy who's like, no, I'm fine. Because in reality, in America, it is not illegal to drive after you drink. It's illegal to drive after you drink too much.
Right, after you've passed the limit.
Right, so everyone can justify that, oh, well, you know, it's 2 beers an hour, but, you know, I weigh 100 pounds more than the average person, so that means I could do an extra 2 beers, and I've been drinking a long time, so that means I can actually do 6 beers an hour. And they drive, and it's a horrible idea. When you drive, the people I know who have ever driven high never do say, like, let's toke and let's hop in the car. It's, okay, that's a horrible idea. Let's not drive. Let's sit and watch some whatever.
Well, I guess there's a difference, because I've done that.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to sound like I'm somebody who doesn't care about the safety of other people, but here's the God's honest truth about driving high. You know when you shouldn't be doing it.
Right.
Like, you are in control of your facility. Like, the drunk person who's, like, on the line, on the legal limit, might not know.
Well, no, and I think they do. If you're on that line, it's the people who are far over the line that their inhibitions are so gone that they just don't think about it.
So it's like one of those, like, if you're driving, say you'd blow a .05.
Yeah.
Which is the limit here in Maryland.
No, .08.
No, .08, sorry.
0.08.
.08. Say you would blow a .08 if you got pulled over. You might leave the parking lot, drive 2 miles, and say, like, oh, I got this. I'm all right.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden a deer pulls out, and your reaction time is shit, and you don't know what you're doing, and that's when you realize, like, oh, no, I'm not
Well, and
I'm not good.
The real thing...
Like, you think you can handle it, and then you can't. And, you know, anytime I ever smoked and drove, I knew when I shouldn't be out there.
Yeah.
Like, I knew when there was times where, like, I just wouldn't be able to handle this whatsoever. And the times where I was able to handle it, and I did it, it was me driving, like, 20 miles an hour on back roads enjoying music.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't going to, like, do anything that, you know, usually at a ridiculous hour of the night, too.
Right. Well, and here's what I'll say. 0.08 is the law for a reason. It's not an arbitrary number. It was scientifically shown that that's the point at which your ability to function as a driver drops significantly.
Right.
Pot does not give you the same... It's not the same drug. It doesn't affect you the same way. It doesn't turn off your inhibitions, although it does change your reaction time somewhat. It's not in the same class of drug.
Yeah.
If you're drunk and driving home, you're much more likely to fly through the red light.
Right.
If you're high and driving home, you're much more likely to sit at the stop sign and wait for it to turn green.
Yeah.
Because I mean, in my experience,
well,
with people
if
that
you're
I know.
driving high, you're more likely to be sitting at the green light going like, why isn't it green yet?
Yeah, right.
Having people honk at you and be like, oh, shit,
And
right.
not a good idea. Do not drive after you've imbibed any substances.
No, it's not a good idea.
Especially alcohol, but pot either. And when it comes down to it, I'm rocking the professional headphones today. What Washington and I was talking about this earlier, what Washington and Colorado did is they adopted what is still an experimental test, but they have a breath test for THC that the police are being trained on. And whereas the blood test will show positive for 30 days, the breath test will show whether or not in the last 10 hours you've imbibed and how much is in your system.
Right.
And they have a scale. 0.08 for alcohol, 0.1532 or whatever blood toxicity for THC. Same thing. Does the same thing. And I think it solves the problem of people driving. And if you get caught high and driving, the penalties are stiffer.
Yeah.
Because now you know you shouldn't.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those, I think it's honestly one of those things like, you know, you should know better. If you're allowed to do it now, you know, there's no reason to. A lot of the times why I would do it would be because I need to go somewhere to do it.
Right, yeah.
I need to find a field.
Right.
Back in the days where I was smoking, I would need to go find a field where I could do it at peace and then drive home. And then just often that drive would just like, oh man, I really like this song. Like,
right,
keep going. But, you know, if you're allowed to smoke in your own goddamn house, like, seriously, just sit there. Like,
and people will, though. People will do that.
Yeah.
Most people who drive, I would say, the people I know of who drove, have the same story. I had to go somewhere to get it, and then I had to go somewhere to do it because I can't sit on my front porch. I can't sit in my house. I'm worried about the cops breaking down my door.
Right.
I'd rather be out in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
If I could sit in my house and do it, I would. And now you can't. Well, in some states now you can.
Yeah.
And so here's I just want to touch.
And I would, honest to God, like, you know, most of the any time I ever drove was when I was in the suburbs.
Right.
So when you're in the suburbs, you know that's how you get around places. You have to drive from place to place.
Right.
But when you're in the city and you're getting high, walking around is just the best.
Right.
As far as, I'd much rather be like walking around seeing interesting things than driving around.
Right.
Like I can still plug in my headphones to my iPod and walk around and have the same sort of deal, not behind the wheel of a car.
Yeah. Well, and I know we're not going to go 2 hours today, and we're already at about an hour. But I want to touch on two other things. Number one is this: I had a conversation with a judge,
right,
who said Maryland has now reached a new level of stupidity with our marijuana laws because
was this after
we found out that it passed? Yeah. Because he said, and you know, he's not a liberal judge, he's a very conservative judge, but he said, if we're going that direction, go that direction. We don't make it illegal. It's still illegal to sell. It's still illegal to, you know, distribute if you're not selling, but you're higher up on the food chain, wholesale down to the street level, and you get caught. Still illegal to sell it. So our law now says that if you are the dealer, for those who are watching the video, if you're the dealer and I'm the buyer, the moment at which I walk up to your door, I have not broken a law, but you have, because you still possess more than is legal.
Right.
When we do the exchange, we are now both breaking the law. The moment that I turn and walk and your door closes, I am now not breaking the law.
Yeah.
So what sense does that make? And then he said on top of it, he'd done a little study into Colorado, and he was like, on top of it, look at all the tax money we're missing out on. We're giving money to cartels.
Here's a quick follow-up, and then we'll move on to other points. But couldn't it be a ballot initiative?
It could. And that's how it got started in both Washington and
I mean,
Colorado.
we have an election coming up.
It's too late to get on the ballot.
Okay, but maybe next time around.
Theoretically, you could probably get it on the ballot. I say that because I think June is the deadline, and you have to have 50,000 signatures.
I'm sure you could get 50,000.
I mean, you probably could. And the thing about that, though, is that Maryland ballot initiative is not like Western states have great ballot initiatives, where if it passes, the legislature must invoke what was passed as a law.
Yeah.
They can make slight changes, but they can't change the gist of what was happening, which is why if you read through the ballot initiatives that I have, they look like laws.
Right.
Maryland is different. Maryland ballot initiatives show the legislature what our perspective is, and they must then can fashion law around that.
Right.
So what we would do is we would do a ballot initiative. It would go up there. They decide what they want to do with it or not. Then the next year you do another ballot initiative, and you hope that you stress to people. Now, local government, yes. Local government, it can get changed by ballot, but at the state level it can't. And I mean, I would fully encourage people to, if they're, I'm sure a ballot initiative exists. Maryland had 10 different pot laws that were considered. The ones that passed were the decriminalization for less than 10 grams and the medical marijuana law. But there was one, and I want to give a big shout out right now to Senator Raskin, which I believe is he's up in your area. He's in the Baltimore County area, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
Maryland Senate Bill 658, which was the Marijuana Taxation and Regulation Act, which was basically what passed in Colorado. Died in the Judicial Proceedings Committee. Senator Raskin, thank you. And for all that's who was the sponsor, but there was many co-sponsors. There was a lot of support. As an attorney, but as a person who's also central, my idealism is centralized, but I think I'm conservative when it comes to rights. What we're doing now is stupid. We need to do. Why are we giving money to cartels? Why are we putting people in jail for?
Why aren't we just taking the money though? That's the most important part.
Take the money and run. I mean, that's what it comes down to. We need legalization. And again, I am not a pot smoker. And in fact, if it was legal, I've promised some people that I would go and smoke with them if it was legal.
Right.
But other than that, I would have no desire to do it. But it's an affront to me, and we have to do a whole thing about victimless crime and how much I hate victimless crime.
See, but I'm no longer a pot smoker either.
Right.
But I would very much appreciate if it was legal for the purpose of, just every once in a while. Like,
yeah. It's your birthday.
Or Pink Floyd's in concert. Like,
yeah.
Like, I would just like to be able to, like, for random occurrences, be able to do stuff.
Yeah. So let's stop doing it the stupid way. Let's do it the smart way. Let's tax it. Let's sell it at stores. And
not only that, but I mean, like, if it was fully legalized in Maryland, that's what we'd be dealing with. I mean, we'd get there's a lot of people out there right now who aren't buying it regardless because they don't want to get in trouble.
Right.
They don't want to be one of 1,000 people who gets arrested for it.
Right.
But if it was legal, maybe they might treat it like the bar, like maybe not as frequently, but like, once a month maybe, like.
And I just thought of an interesting metaphor.
Just me and the wife hanging out. We're gonna get bombed tonight and watch
Dave Chappelle.
Yeah, watch Dave Chappelle.
Here's what I'll say. Maryland was the last one to jump on the gambling bandwagon around here, which means that people were going out of state. They were going to Delaware, Pennsylvania, West Virginia to gamble. And we lost out on tons, millions, billions of dollars of tax income. If Maryland was the first one on the East Coast who would sell marijuana to people, we would be on the opposite end of that.
God.
Because Colorado, you can buy up to an ounce if you're a citizen. If you're from out of state, you can only buy up to a quarter ounce at a time and possess a quarter of an ounce at a time. Maryland does the same thing. People would be coming from D.C., Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, everywhere to come into Maryland.
You'd get people from New York and shit like that. I'm sure of it.
And they'd have to run the risk of driving back because that's on them. But yeah, I mean, people would come here to do it.
Probably not even that. Like, just come down for the weekend and hang out and enjoy our...
Oh, yeah.
Like...
You want to boost tourism?
Enjoy our harbor.
Yeah, you want to boost tourism?
You know how much fun it is to be in the inner harbor when you're high?
I don't know.
Well, you wouldn't. But I mean, like, it's a lot of fun. Yeah. People watching in the harbor, just sitting on a bench.
Yeah.
It's great fun.
So, in summation.
And you know that they would be spending money on food.
Right. Hey, you want to support the tourism industry? You should vote for legalization. But in summation, this is really stupid. I'm not even a pot smoker, but I would say there's only one way to go here. We got to keep moving forward. And we are. And next year, the same laws will be up. Hopefully, the Senate and the House of Delegates will take a different perspective. We'll have a new governor, so I think that's going to be interesting as well. That's one of the unknowns because O'Malley has been very clear that he would sign any bill We're unclear about a successor. I think Brown probably would, and I know that Heather Mazur would, who at this point is a front runner for my vote, Heather Mazur for governor, because she is one of the ones who put in the bill.
I think there was a Baltimore Sun poll or something like that about like who do you want to vote for governor?
Yeah.
And it was like nobody had more than 10%.
Yeah.
And like the overwhelming response was, I don't know, I don't care yet.
Well, I do like
and I think I'm in that. I haven't spent enough. Like I'm gonna spend some time away from it and just let the riffraff clear itself out, and then.
And we got June is the primary, so we'll see what the field is cleared out by then. But
right,
who knows who's going to be on the Republican side? We have an independent candidate, Hogan, who's actually I like him a lot. He's a libertarian, Change Maryland Party, which I like a lot. But Heather Mazur at this point is a front runner for my Democratic vote because she's.
I don't really think it matters who runs as the Republican candidate.
Yeah, probably not.
You know.
Why? Bob Ehrlich was our governor, man.
Yeah, but then Bob Ehrlich got the shaft for the entire time he was governor.
Yeah,
they wouldn't let him do anything.
Yeah.
So
a message. This is my message.
And probably the only reason why Ehrlich won was because he was running against Kennedy Townsend, who was just like that. I think the Maryland Democratic Party literally said that they'll vote for anybody.
I think
and pushed her out
after
there.
Glendenning, they were just like, it doesn't matter who wants to be governor. but
1, 2, 3, not it.
Ehrlich won it, but so we'll have to wait and see. And just as a side note, investigate. We have an election coming up in the fall. Investigate your candidate. And nothing against you. We're very early. We're very early in the campaign, but look into your candidates. Go out and vote.
Don't decide the day of.
Please don't. Stay out of the booth if you're going to wait. And if you're going to pick a random, stay out of the voting booth. I encourage everyone to vote, but vote smartly. Investigate your candidates. If this is your issue of choice, I can tell you that Heather Mazur right now is going to be the place. I hope I'm saying her name right. I met her in person, and she said, "Call me Heather." And I was like, after that, I forgot to ask her how to pronounce her last name.
Yeah.
So, but
I'm sure she doesn't mind that much.
Yeah. So check out all the candidates.
Well,
I know, right? I'm really plugging hard. I get those emails like twice a day. So, so check out all the candidates and vote. And God, we're getting on a political rant. There'll be other episodes for political stuff, but get out there. So, next week.
Yeah. Are we just moving on? Anything else to say about?
I don't know. Do we have more? Response from last week. Maryland marijuana law, national law. We talked about that, and what to do in the future.
I think we pretty much covered it.
Look at that.
That we did our sheet.
Didn't even refer to the sheet. Oh, prep work. How about that?
Yeah.
So
legal pads, because you're a lawyer and I'm the son of a lawyer, so we both know these documents well, or the
shape,
the platform of writing on a legal pad.
Technically, this is not a legal pad because it's 8.5. Is it? No, it's 8 by 4. It is 8.5 by 14.
Yeah.
Oh, that is a legal pad. Anyway, so 1 through 5 we're done. Number 6 is next week / wrap up. Oh. That's going to keep happening.
Leaving that in. I don't give a shit what you say. I'm leaving that in. And everybody check out, like an hour, 10 minutes into the podcast and watch Rob hit his head.
Well, and that's like the third time
on the
that
YouTube
I've done
video.
it. The third time I've done it.
That's why we have that camera rolling.
Last week when we did it, I didn't have headphones, and I am super judgmental of myself, as you are, and I could hear it, and I'm like, I moved away from the mic, and you did your best to try and boost it, but I was over here talking like this. And you can't hear me at all.
Yeah.
So now that I can hear it in my head, I know when I'm moving too far.
There really hasn't been much trouble leveling this episode too. I think we're moving into a nice place where we're talking pretty consistently throughout. So
yeah,
pretty good.
And notice my professional pop filter now. Yeah,
I already spent a lot of money on
a mic for a guest who didn't show up,
and a boom mic stand and a cable and everything like that. Podcasts cost money. I'm
They
not
do.
asking for money. I'm just saying
I was thinking we should do a Kickstarter.
What, for the podcast?
Yeah.
Just to pay. Oh, I got crab chips in the car, by the way. Aaron donated crab chips.
Yes, thank you, Aaron.
I don't know if she thought we were getting high and we would need them, but like
maybe so.
But she bought them for Lyft, like to give out to people in Lyft.
That's nice.
That's a pretty nice bonus.
And if you're in the greater Glen Burnie, Pasadena,
she'll be in
Brooklyn, Baltimore area, call Lyft. Aaron's a fantastic Lyft driver.
Fucking sidebar. So, fucking sidebar. I finally did Lyft for the first time last night.
Rode in one or drove one?
Rode in one.
Yeah.
Like did the whole process of like calling them or like getting them up on my cell phone and putting in the destination and paying for it and everything like that. This is a fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Like way that we're going in like
good time
progressing.
To be alive. Good time to be alive.
Yeah, but I mean, just like the guy was talking about, like he was having like he just had a brand new daughter and he was having trouble with the bills, and this is like a perfect opportunity for him to like go out for a couple hours and make a little bit of extra money to help out. And like it's just great. Like, you know, if you don't mind, if it doesn't bother you, if the thought of it doesn't bother you, then it's really awesome. And the actual, like, the way it works, where you say like, I'm here,
right, and
then you see the driver coming around, like, you know exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, he just turned on Key Highway. He's 3 minutes away.
I love the idea. I do.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm sure I wouldn't recommend it to my daughter if I had a daughter, probably my spouse. You know, in Baltimore, getting a random stranger to pick you up. It's like, what is it?
Oh, you're talking about oh, God, what are they called?
I know.
Shit, now it's... But if you've ever... People on the video who are actually like...
Oh, yeah, who
watching.
could see my hand gesture.
One of these.
Oh, yeah.
One of these.
No, I know. See, no, you're right. Because if you're hailing a cab, it's up here.
It's up. Like, hey, pick me up. Like, people in New York will know this one.
Yeah.
Like the like hailing an actual
right.
cab. But if you sort of got the hand to the side and like wiggling the fingers.
Yeah.
Or like a little like.
Yeah.
Moving the hand. You're trying to pick up a scab driver. Someone who's not a legit taxi driver.
Right. Yeah.
But fucking don't do that.
Call Lyft or go on your phone on Lyft. And as much as I'd love to live in another time, it's fucking amazing the things that I see.
And the progression, too.
Yeah,
anyway,
the things that we can do.
Next week's episode.
Yeah.
We are going to be talking about relationships.
Right. I think we promoted that a little bit earlier. But a lot of stuff. Stuff I think we're going to touch on is online dating. Mm-hmm. Aaron's going to be here with us.
Yes.
Very excited to have Aaron on the podcast. And you and Aaron met on online dating.
Yep.
I have had
on OkCupid.
I've had absolutely no success with online dating, so that's my perspective. And I think it's going to be weird because you're in a very long-term relationship. No. I mean, longest ever? Is that for you?
Oh, yeah.
Are we there by far, right?
Oh, clearly.
Yeah.
We've blown that. I think we're like 200% or 400% past that at this point.
Well, and I mean, I've been in some long-term relationships, but I'm the single guy now, so I have a different perspective. And to be fair, you didn't really live a single life when you were single, so...
Right. I spent all my time smoking weed and writing. So,
but
during my single days, that was
so. What we're
I had a pretty long term thing going on with Mary Jane whenever I was single. So it was.
So online dating is definitely on the table. I have some fantastic horror stories I would love to tell. No names, of course.
Right.
Names should be changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. But we need you. For those of you watching on YouTube, we need you to, I mean, what do you want to hear about? Dating is a topic. I'm welcoming any questions or, you know, your subtopics, your sidebars.
Or please, for the love of God, stories. I would love to talk about, like, if you have a really great, like, online dating story especially.
Yeah.
Like, that would be the absolute best.
Yeah.
And but we won't share names. We won't share, like.
Of course, yeah. It's a judgment-free zone, number one. And if you want it to be anonymous, it can certainly be anonymous. If you don't, let us know. We'll totally say your name. But otherwise, it can be anonymous.
And I think between the two of us, we've seen it all. Or at least heard it all.
Probably, yeah. No, I mean,
I don't think there's anything that's really escaped our...
There's a thing on Facebook, and you can talk more about it next week. There's 21 of the worst things that women have said to guys.
Yeah.
And someone posted it on my wall, and they were like, I guarantee you've heard a couple of these. And I read it, and I'm like, I have heard a version of almost every one of these things. Yeah. Just horribleness of dating. Single life sucks. Let's go to the bar. All right, so
it's about that time.
I was going to say it's not quite 420 yet, but happy 420 belated because you're going to be hearing this on Tuesday. Happy 420 belated to all my pot smokers out there.
But you know that anybody who's celebrating 420 isn't like taking in new media, so it'll probably be a 2-day. Get him
up there.
Like all of a sudden you're just like, oh shit, everybody did a 420 podcast, and I got to listen to them all.
Right, and happy belated birthday to you.
Thank you.
So you can find me online on. Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Pinterest, everywhere at Robert N. Cheek. That's RobertNchek. Snapchat as well, depending on who you are. So you can find me anywhere on there.
Send all your pictures of sausages to Rob at Snapchat.
No, that is absolutely not.
I would love to hear about how many. how many dick pics Rob gets this time next week.
Please no. Please no.
theanthem.com is the website. Long questions, like great for the stories that you may share. Longer than 140 character stories. Mm-hmm. Cory at theanthem.com is the place where you want to send it. The Anthem on Facebook, on Twitter, Google+, YouTube, Vimeo.
Everywhere.
All those places.
Yeah.
And the Google Voice, which might be the best time to call in and like tell a story about like an awful
I would love audio.
Dating.
Audio would be great.
Yeah. And, obviously you can just make up names or whatever. If you don't want us to know. The number is 443-219-7595. Again, that's 443-219-7595.
So, and I was thinking this earlier. We need to get some music in. I feel like we should intro the intro. We got the Anthem intro.
Right.
But then it's like right into it. And I feel like, if you're going to open the show, we can open with some Creed or something like that. Arms wide open. I have that in my head. I do when I look at you.
You're gonna. What? Why do I love Creedy?
I don't know. I just look at you and I hear
Creed.
Creed.
How that became a verb that was said with disdain. Why am I Creedy to you? Why you call me a slut, Rob?
Yeah. So we got to get some drops. We got to get some music or something.
Well, I think we need to. Let's just have our meeting right here. But I think we need to have a discussion about like what music costs on podcasts.
That's true.
Probably got to write a check to ASCAP every time we play Creed.
Although we probably could get, if we knew somebody who was in a band who wanted some free promotion, and I don't know, like they could come on the podcast.
No, fuck that band. I'm just kidding. I literally love like everybody who I know is in a band. I love.
Yeah.
Like there's not nobody I know has a band where I'm just like, oh god.
Right.
No, I don't want to go to your fucking show.
Well, at our age, I think that people who are in bands, they're settled. That they know their music style.
They know what they're doing.
And they've had some success. So they're not, it's not like when we were 12 or 13 and they're like, oh, wow, you 5 guys? Really?
Yeah.
Yikes.
It was even worse when it was like 8 people in a band.
Oh, God.
Like one person playing a fucking tambourine and shit like that.
Well, anyway, thank you everybody for listening. Again, this is episode 2. It will drop on Tuesday the 22nd. Look for our next podcast the Tuesday after.
And every Tuesday following.
Every Tuesday thereafter.
And if you like what you hear, tell a friend, share it, or posting it on Facebook and
add
Twitter and Google Plus and everything. So just share it with a friend.
Add me as a friend everywhere. I repost everything. I like everything. So you'll be able to find it there. Share it with your friends, please. If you like it, share it with everybody.
Or leave a comment in iTunes, I guess, too, is another thing that people do. That'd be nice. I'd like to see comments.
I'm really looking forward to the YouTube comments to the video.
Oh, I hope it comes. I hope it comes.
So anyway, Thank you for listening.
Yep, and have a good night, and...
Well, I guess for Cory, this is Rob.
Yeah, and don't smoke anything laced. See you later.